Thanks again for joining us here on the Bearcats Sports Network. We've talked offense with McKendree football coach Mike Babcock. This segment's going to focus on the defensive side of the ball as we talk about a unit that returns 9 starters, a veteran squad, the entire middle layer, the linebacking core intact, 3 starters up front, several starters back in the secondary. But let's go ahead and focus on that front 4 first. A veteran squad anchored by a 4-year starter in Lucky Barr on the edge, a guy that had multiple sacks last year. I believe it was 8 sacks, All-American the year before. You move into the tackles with Marquez Cherry, Tyler House, some guys that have been through the trenches before, and then a guy stepping up in Tobias Cook, who backed up Brett Pierman, a graduating senior this past year. He gets to look at the start now and talk about that front 4.
I think the big thing for them is just experience. All of them, from top to bottom, I think we've got some great depth, at our defensive line right now. Starting on the outside, Lucky Barr had a fantastic year 2 years ago. Even the solid year last year wasn't bad. Just a good solid year in Lucky. And again, he's a hard worker, great technician. And I think those guys are really buying into that blue-collar work ethic that, they might not get all the glory, but they love being up front. They love being in the trenches, and it's really all one in the trenches, in my opinion. So Lucky Barr has done a great job. On the other side, Tobias Cook has done a nice camp. He's really coming into his own and really becoming a complete player. Understands the game, knows the game, still has some more game time experience than some of the other guys, and I think he's going to hopefully have another solid year. Another guy getting in the mix at defensive end, I think, is going to be Darian Simmons, who's had a fantastic offseason, and those guys will mix it in pretty good at the defensive end. As we bring it on into the tackle position, Tyler House coming in for his senior year, done a nice job at our 3 technique, and then also Marquez Cherry at our nose, again has had a solid offseason and really to kind of hopefully kick it into gear this year. We've got some great backups behind them, and again, I'm very happy with where we're at D-line wise.
McKendree has always been blessed with a great linebacking core. This year, no exception. The entire starting unit comes back, led by an all-region selection, A.J. Wentland. Going into his senior year, he has set season tackle records for the Bearcats each of his last 2 years. Then you look at Kyle Kirkpatrick, Austin Wealth, and Brandon Moody, what those guys bring, as well as Carter Vance, Jeremiah Wilkins even backing up A.J. at the middle backer. Talk about the depth and the experience of what that's going to bring to this McKendree defense.
Well, you just said it. I think the big thing in this linebacker core is experience. It all starts at our middle linebacker in A.J. Wentland, and he's doing phenomenal, and it's nothing less than I'd expect from AJ. I mean, he's a guy that runs around, makes plays. He's a yes sir, no sir. He's going to do whatever it takes in the weight room, in practice, in film study. I mean, he's, in my opinion, kind of that complete player, and I think everyone around him kind of feeds off of that. Guys just on the outside of him, and Austin Wealth and Kyle Kirkpatrick, very similar types of guys, as far as solid, knows what to do. They're great communicators back there. Same thing with Brandon Moody coming into his senior year, along with Jeremiah Wilkins. So, I mean, we've got about 3 or 4 seniors on this group right here that, has done a nice job over it, and it's just that experience. They know what to do. They've been doing it now for the last couple of years. And then the final it out is Carter Vance, like you had said, is having a great camp, and hopefully that entire core can get it done against the Rams.
The experience continues in the secondary. You look at the group assembled there. Corners Nate Powell, Jabari Winston heading into his senior year. He's been an anchor back there for the Bearcats. Derek Curry at safety, and Weston Brown. Those are guys that have been through the trenches as well. Veteran leadership as well, and some guys that have made some big plays throughout the years for McKendree.
Very happy, especially at our corner position. I think Jabari Winston and Nate Powell have done a fantastic job for the last 12 months, not just last season, but off-season camp. Everything to put themselves in a position to be pretty darn good corners, and they're big corners, tall corners, which you don't get to see a lot right now. So if you can get guys that are 6'2", 6'3" to play fast, it makes it tough on those offenses. So and Jabari coming in for his senior year, I know he wants to go out with a bang, and so hopefully we can get it done on the perimeter. When you bring it inside, guys like Weston Brown, Derek Curry, who have had experience, at the safety position, and being able to take that game experience and translate it as well. We're going to have to, in the mix, at the other safety is Blake Benoist, I think he's done a nice job at the other safety position, and then also Jason Bennett, a freshman, that has done a nice job as well in fall camp and is kind of starting to pick up the pace and might have some playing time. So, we're still trying to get our feet at the safety position, but I do like the fact that we've got a couple guys with experience, and hopefully the guys up front can help those guys out a little bit as they start, getting their feet wet a little bit and get it going.
We talked about in our offensive preview the numbers put up by the Bearcats in 2015. The defensive unit wasn't too shabby either. Led the conference in scoring defense, up in the top third in rushing and passing defense. So it's a squad that knows what it takes to get it done in the GLVC, and that's got to be an added luxury for you, knowing that you can rely on a defense that has been there and has performed at the highest level.
I think that last year especially our offense got a lot of the press, a lot of the numbers, and our defense kind of very quietly kind of did their job day in and day out. They're not the rah-rah kind of guys, pop the collar, look at me type of defense. They just kind of go out, do their job, and good things happen. And so, at the end of the year, I think they finally looked up and said, well, shoot, I guess we had a pretty good year defensively and led the conference in scoring. So, I think with more guys coming back on defense than on offense, you would hope that they would be a little bit better. This has been a physical camp. This has been a hard camp. It's hard to tell which one is doing better than the other because we're going against each other every day. But I'm very excited on where we're at defensively, and I hope it can continue as we progress through the season.
Well, Coach, that wraps up our defensive preview of the 2016 McKendree football program. We've talked about offense. Our final segment, we'll talk about the special teams and what you envision for the Bearcats in 2016. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch up with you soon on the Bearcat Sports Network.